To begin today's meeting by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we gathered and pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge any business that may be happening in the community at this point in time. Welcome to the City Lifestyle Committee meeting of the 15th of May 2024. I declare this meeting open at 9:32. I would like to advise attendees in the room that this meeting is being webcast and audio recorded. First, we'll begin with leave of absences. I only have one leave of absence for Councillor Bennon. Do I have a mover? Councillor Russell, seconded by Councillor Raven. Can I have a show of hands? That has been carried unanimously. Confirmation of the previous committee minutes. We have, this is the first meeting of the year, so we have no previous minutes. I now refer to the declaration of conflicts of interest. Do any councillors wish to declare a conflict of interest for any of the agenda items that will be discussed today? There being none, I'll now refer to the reports on today's agenda. We'll begin with item 6.1, Sports and Community Infrastructure 2023-2024 Quarterly Report, 1st of January to 31st of March. This is a public report, and there will be a report from Mr. Brad White. The presenting officer will be Mr. Bren O'Brien, the Sports and Community Infrastructure Manager. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, Mr. Mayor, and good morning, councillors. As headlined in the report, this is a consolidated update on Council's sporting and community infrastructure projects for Q3 of this financial year. In this quarter, I'd like to point out that early works have commenced on the Beanley Aquatic Centre project. Significant progress was made on the Wilbur Street Youth Centre project, with major structural and componentry works being installed. The final stage of Queens Road Depot got underway, and completion of this project is not expected for a further 12 months. Pleased to say the Jimboomba Park Clubhouse and the Chris Green Park Clubhouse projects, their construction programs have recovered after some delays through wet weather through the December-January period, and those delivery timeframes seem to be back on track, which is very, very pleasing. Finally, for me, we were pleased to be informed that Council was successful in receiving grant funding for 11 sports facility projects that were part of the State Government's Minor Infrastructure and Inclusive Facilities Fund, and co-funded with Council's Sports and Recreation Facilities Program. I'm happy to take any questions.
We have a question from Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, through the chair. Good morning, team. Thank you, Ben, for presenting the report. I just wanted to say thank you. You've got a lot going on in Division 12, and I just wanted to give the community some information on what is going on in this report. So we've got the Beanley Aquatic Centre, we've got Chris Green Park, we've got lighting upgrades at Noya Park, Bishop Street, we've got Chris Green Park getting done. We'll have a little bit of rectification work at Eagleby Pool as well, and we've also been granted some further lighting for Beanley Junior Rugby, Beanley Netball, and we've also got some new amenity block for Bedford Park. So you've got a lot going on in Division 12, thank you, and I would like to say to the community, we're working hard for you. Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors? There being none, do we have a mover for the report? Councillor Bradley, seconded by Councillor Murphy. Can I have a show of hands? That has been carried unanimously. Okay, moving on to item 6.2, Compton Park Clubhouse Redevelopment. This is a public report. Mr. Ben O'Brien, could you please present the report?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In January this year, the Logan Metro Football Club was unfortunately burnt down, leaving the club without sufficient facilities to operate. Council, along with the Department of Tourism and Sport and the local member, Councillor Lane, and the state member, Cameron Dick, have been working with the club to get them back up and running. There are currently temporary facilities in place at this site. We are in need of replacing this facility urgently to see this important community club continue to operate. Unfortunately, the insured sum will be insufficient to fund the cost of the replacement. We're proposing to fund the residual costs for this replacement facility from Council's Sport and Recreation Asset Replacement budget. Because this is unplanned works or an unplanned replacement, we are considering modular options on a very specific basis. This may suit with expediency to deliver a facility for the club to operate and potentially cost savings as this is unplanned works. However, whether or not modular will be the viable option would still yet to be tested in the market whilst we're seeking quality infrastructure that'll meet the specification. As it is unplanned works, though, the purpose of this report is to seek council support for the Mayor to write to the state member seeking funding support to assist with the replacement of this facility for this important community sporting club. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. We've got a question from Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you. Was this on the list of projects to be done in the next round of projects?
Before the fire event, this was not on any replacement schedule within the short term. But because it has been burnt down, it needs to be replaced, yes.
Okay. And do we have, I can't remember if I read it in there, sorry, my apologies. Do we have an estimated cost on this?
No, we don't have an estimated cost at the moment. We do need to go to market to tender for the replacement facility. So we do have council's sporting guidelines on what type of clubhouse facility we would seek to put there. But we don't, and hence we understand what typical traditional construction costs look like. However, we don't have an anticipated cost for what modular is. We suspect it could be slightly more cost advantageous. However, we need to understand how we could put a modular construction together at a slightly cheaper price, albeit how it differs from our spec.
So if we're writing a letter to the state government to seek funding support, we technically don't know how much we're actually asking for?
To inform the letter to the state, we would put together an indicative cost of what we're thinking are looking like. Now, whether or not we want to prescribe an amount we want to ask for them, or we want to leave that up to the state would be a question for the Mayor or for this council.
And so what's happening with the club now? Where are they operating from?
They're operating at the same site. We've erected temporary facilities, albeit they are not a long-term option for those temporary facilities to just get them up and running.
Okay. And in the letter, will we be stating that council will co-contribute, the councillor possibly might co-contribute, state government co-contribute to get this back up and running?
Thank you, Councillor. That's a good question. Yes, so we'll be proposing that we are seeking to fund this from our asset replacement program as it is our asset to replace. We do have an insurance sum to put towards this, but we'll be seeking any support possible from the state government.
And will the councillor be putting in LIP? It's not mine. It's not yours? Who is it? Is it Division 2? Okay. What, can I ask why not?
You may answer the question, Councillor Lane.
So the facility that Metro were in was a hand-me-down from Ben Matthews, wasn't it? And it was just a simple little, not even the size of this room, that they're operating from and quite happily. They've since had their clubhouse burnt down. They're operating out of a container, so it's not out of a dwelling, it's out of a container, and they're doing the best they can with break-ins and what have you. The insurance definitely didn't cover the cost of replacing that dinky little thing, let alone something bigger. So I don't think it's appropriate that an asset be replaced after having been burnt down using LIP funding when we actually have mechanisms in place to replace these items.
I'm not saying to
The state
fund the whole
government, sorry, I
thing.
haven't finished, sorry. The state government has been with us in this entire process and has been extraordinarily supportive of what we're working through, and you're still working with those officers, aren't you, And those officers have said, whatever we can try and do to help, we will be doing it. So this letter is a formality in actually determining the actual amount, and they don't have to do it. It's not their venue, it's not their game, but they're actually coming to the party. Is that correct? Yeah.
Councillor Bradley.
Thank you. Underwood Park redevelopment actually had LIP money put into it, even though a lot of it was under asset replacement of facilities, and the amount of council contribution was not enough. So I do think it's appropriate for LIP. That's just my opinion. But my hand went up when you spoke about the insurance, and I don't recall, and I don't even know anything about the fire at all either. And so I don't know if it was criminal act or what exactly happened, whether it was an electrical fault or anything like that. But just curious about the insurance part. Can you talk me through that?
From an insurance perspective, at the moment, I think we're working with the loss adjuster. There's an indication that potentially we will get back $400,000 approximately through that insurance. That is to be confirmed. That probably reinforces Councillor Lane's comment around the likely written down value or market value of the facility at that time. The cause of the fire was not any fault of the facility. I think it was caused by unsociable behaviour.
Councillor Lane. Councillor Jackson.
Does writing the letter or waiting for a response delay the process of getting the club rebuilt?
No, it won't. We're proposing to fund this. So we have, within the Sport and Community Infrastructure branch, we have a funding source for sport and recreation asset replacement budget. It just means that this project goes to the top of the list to utilise that asset replacement funding to fund the replacement. So it won't slow down. It won't slow down the delivery of the project, albeit seeking the state support, which they've indicated, as Councillor Lane touched on, they've been working with this, will just lessen the burden on the asset replacement program and potentially avail some additional funding to put towards maybe the next replacement project that needs to be delivered through that program.
Councillors, are there any further questions? Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you. One for Councillor Lane. Oh, actually, no, I'll go to Ben first. What happens if we don't get all of the funding to rebuild?
The project gets funded from the asset replacement program and the insurance payout.
And then potentially that moves everything on the asset replacement program down the list just a little bit because we have to fund this first.
Potentially, but depends on the difference and any state funding we would receive. But I always think it's always worth asking the state for assistance as they've been working closely with us on this one.
Absolutely. I think asking the state's a good thing, but I also think as a councillor that also had to fund LIP into a project that was insurance with a roof and a toilet and that sort of thing as well, to lessen the burden, as you say, on that asset replacement, I would like to see the local councillor add some LIP.
Councillors, there being no further questions, there is a recommendation up on the board. Could I see a mover for that recommendation? That has been moved by Councillor Lane and seconded by the Mayor, Mayor Raven. Can I see a show of hands in support? That has been carried unanimously. Councillors, we're now moving on to item 6.3, Wilbur Street Youth Centre Operating Model. This is a public report with confidential attachments. The presenter will be Mr. Ben O'Brien. I note that item 6.3 has confidential attachments. A proposed resolution to move this matter is displayed on the screen. Do any councillors wish to move into a closed session for this item? There being none, Councillor Lane, you would like to move into confidential. We have a mover for confidential with Councillor Lane. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Russell has seconded. Can I please see a show of hands in support? That is being carried unanimously. We'll now move into a confidential session. Welcome back, everyone. We have a motion up on the board that we are about to vote on. Can all councillors have a read of that motion? Okay, we have a mover with Councillor Bradley. Can I have a seconder? We have a seconder with Councillor Wilcox. Can I see a show of hands in support of this recommendation? That has been carried. I'll just go around the room to see how we all voted. Mayor Raven? For. Councillor Bradley?
For.
Councillor Lane?
Against?
Councillor Russell?
For.
Councillor St Ledger?
Against.
Councillor Jackson? For. Councillor Fraser? For. Councillor Hiramiah?
For.
Councillor Stemp?
For.
Councillor Wilcox?
For.
Councillor Murphy?
For.
And I am also for. Okay, councillors, moving on to item 6.4. This is a confidential report, Hamel Park facility funding options. It will be, I note that item 6.4 is confidential. A proposed resolution to move this matter is displayed on the screen. Do any councillors wish to move into closed session to discuss this item? Councillor Murphy has nominated to move into confidential. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Russell has seconded. Can I have a show of hands? That has been carried unanimously. We'll now move into confidential. Okay, councillors, we have a recommendation up on the board behind me. I have a mover with Councillor Murphy. I have a seconder with Councillor Bradley. Can I have a show of hands in support? That has been carried unanimously. Councillors, do any of the councillors have any general business for the Sports and Community Infrastructure Manager? No. Do we have any late reports? No late reports. We do have a general business item from the. Thank you, team. Okay, we do have a general business item from the City Safety and Livability Manager, Emily Shafto.
Through the Chair, good morning, Mayor and Councillors. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today very quickly in general business. Firstly, I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce you to our newly appointed Community Safety Program Leader, Ben Gant, sitting with me today. We're lucky enough that Ben brings significant experience across the corporate, non-profit and government sector. Ben is currently leading a broader strategic review of Council's CCTV camera program with the view to transforming the scale and utilisation of the CCTV network and flexibility of surveillance options. So this is yet to manifest, but you'll see more of Ben in coming months. He is also, the team are also currently working on the abandoned and derelict houses policy project, which we equally will be bringing back to Council at some point this year. So we welcome Ben to the business.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The purpose of my GB item today is to inform councillors of the outcome of a recent major animal management prosecution. So in June 2023, Council endorsed the prosecution of an individual located in Division 2 for serious animal management offences. These offences included the unlawful keeping of 12 dogs on a small residential block, leading to a serious attack of a vulnerable elderly person in a location right beside a primary school. Last week, the Magistrates Court found in favour of Council, finding the defendant guilty on all charges and sentencing them to pay over $6,000 in penalties and costs as a result. So with protecting public safety at its heart, Council's Animal Management Plan 2023 supports strong consequences for members of the public who negligently keep animals in a way which negatively impacts the public safety of others. So I'm pleased to report this prosecution outcome today and give credit to our hard-working animal management team who achieved this result. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much to you, Mr. Chair. Emily, to your team, thank you so much. I know as late as last week that dog was still out and about, or its associates were out and about menacing people. And, you know, Michelle and the team down there, they do a wonderful job. They're so reactive and they're kind and generous while they're doing their job. So please pass along our thanks and congratulations on the prosecution.
Thank you.
Well done.
We'll pass that on. Thank you very much, Councillor Lane.
Councillor Bradley.
Thank you. Through the Chair, my hand went up when Emily, you, Mr. Shafto, sorry, you sat in the chair. You recently I forwarded something to you that a resident had sent me about election signs still being up on a particular property, which had been reported probably a month before. Mm-hmm. And I was actually quite surprised to see the response from the council officers. I would have thought that there would have been a fine issued, but there wasn't. It was just, please remove the sign. I'm just curious, is that really part of our local law?
Through the Chair, I'd have to get more specific information on the nature of this matter, but I understand if it is the same matter you're describing, there may not have been an offence committed. under the local law, so there may not have been a head of power to take enforcement action such as issuing a fine, but I'd probably prefer to review the case with my team. And
I
come
find
back
that
to you.
bizarre because I thought that was part of, we had to get our signs down with a week. This person had their signs up for 2 months after the election, and it was on a fence.
Yeah, thank you.
We could effectively, councillors who want to run next term, next election, put your signs up now. Yeah, just leave your signs up.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I just find that bizarre. That's all. How effective is our local law?
Through the chair, if I may respond to that, our team closely monitored levels of compliance with the newly introduced election signs local laws, and 1 week after the date in which people could lawfully display signs without a permit, the team performed citywide activities in having those signs removed. It may be that this sign was an outlier, or it may be that this sign was potentially displayed on private property in circumstances which may not have given rise to an offence, but I can't talk to the specific details of the case, and if you'll allow me a bit of time, I can certainly come back to you, Councillor Bradley. Yeah.
Maybe other councillors might be interested as well in that response.
Just in relation to that, I've had the opposite experience. Council's gotten in touch with me with every single sign that may have still been around, and thankfully they allowed me the time to remove it and remedy the situation. Mayor Raven, you have a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Emily, just back to the prosecution. Great work. Was that $6,000 fine the maximum that could be awarded under the ledge?
The courts rarely award the maximum in penalties. We felt this was a fairly good outcome, given it was the first time that this individual had been prosecuted for animal management offences. It would have been open to the court to impose much lower penalties or to not impose penalties, but the magistrate took into account the fact that the property was right near a school and the level of culpability from the animal owner and their lack of cooperation in imposing these penalties. By way of comparison, a case at Fraser Coast, a prosecution of an animal owner for a fatality involving three dogs, a couple of years ago achieved a penalty of $17,000. So we feel $6,000 in these circumstances was a reasonable outcome, and it serves as a great deterrence to like-minded individuals.
Thank you.
Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify, just going back to the election signage.
Councillor Wilcox, could we perhaps take that offline, that question?
No, because it's something that Councillor Bradley said that I wanted to state.
Because, the general business item that was raised, doesn't seem related to the general business item. Would you like to...
It's to respond to what Councillor Bradley asked.
Yeah, I prefer that you take it offline.
Do I have the floor or not?
Councillor Lane? Did you want to raise it as... Okay. Mrs. Shafter, I'd like to, as the chair of the City Lifestyle, thank you for the work that you've done on this. I think this is a good result for the community. It actually shows when people do see things happening that are wrong, if they do report it, council will take action and council will do what they can to make sure that people are doing the right things and that the people that aren't doing the right things are seeing the consequences of their actions. So thank you very much for this general business item, and thank you for the great work that you and your team do. Thank you, and welcome on board to the fun train, Tim. Ben, thank you. Okay. All right. Do we have Councillor Lane?
Thanks very much, Mr. Chair. I've got some general business that I'd like to direct, and it's convenient that you're here, Emily, so thank you very much. Back in the day, we did a LIP consideration, and one of the things that councillors expressed was a desire to see it progress so that they could actually attach themselves with some LIP to this particular thing, and that was covert cameras in the community. And I noticed in the service enhancements this year, it didn't come up, despite us saying after the committee meeting oh, perhaps that could be looked at as a service enhancement in the future. So the general business is that a service enhancement for funding of citywide deployable covert camera program be prepared for consideration as part of the 24-25 budget process. And I know that we've had previous discussions around it, but I'd like for that to be considered and potentially investigated.
Now, through the chair, the City Safety and Livability Branch are happy to prepare a service enhancement for consideration this year. As I mentioned, we're embarking on a major strategic review of the camera program generally, with a view to expanding the flexibility of tech solutions. But with this broader piece yet to be finalised, we understand that there may be a level of interest in investing in solutions such as covert cameras right now. So, as I said, we're certainly able to prepare a service enhancement if that's what councillors choose to support today.
Thank you. I almost feel a sense of deja vu. I believe something similar was requested last term by myself and Councillor Jeremiah and Councillor Fraser. Anyway, Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, through the chair. I'm happy to second this, but I am just mindful how far down the process we are with the budget process, that's all.
Councillor Jeremiah, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My series of questions are directed to the council officers. I understand that we're in the budget process right now. I support new service enhancements being considered. However, writing a service enhancement takes time. Mr. Director, are you confident that there will be enough time to write this service enhancement to consider it in this budget cycle?
Through the chair, thank you for the question, Councillor Jeremiah. Based on the budget committee meeting we had last week, I pretty much walked out of that meeting and spoke to Emily and Ben, and they're confident they can bring that back for the 27th, I think is when we meet next. So, yes, we are fairly confident we will be able to present that and the other GB request for a service enhancement at the same time.
Thank you. And regarding the technicalities of this service enhancement, I understand that other councils have similar programs. For example, in the Gold Coast, there's a deployment of different safety surveillance devices in each division across the city, and it comes up in a committee report. I understand that those programs have an emphasis on deterrence. So their program is a big concrete block with a large pole with a camera on top, so people around are aware that they're being surveilled, and it provides a deterrence against antisocial activity. Would the current state of this service enhancement motion rule out adopting such precedents from other councils?
Thank you, Councillor Jeremiah. That's a really great question, because it is certainly the fact that council has traditionally relied on fixed poles to form its CCTV surveillance network, but there's a range of solutions out there, including the sort of semi-movable solutions that you describe. This service enhancement contemplates covert surveillance, but there would be nothing limiting us, including movable cameras, were the wording to change in that, because it's certainly something as part of this broader strategic review we're turning our minds to, with a view to expanding the range of camera solutions available for different either deterrence or covert needs. So.
Thank you. So this service enhancement mentions covert, so it would rule out those deterrent factors. According to the National Crime Prevention Framework that was published, safety surveillance methods may actually assist in deterrence. And there was a study done by the Australian Institute of Criminology where they deployed deterrent factors with CCTV schemes in different car parks, and they found that when CCTV was visible and you could see it, it provided a sense of deterrence, and there was a 51% reduction in crime in those car parks. So I think we all know that robotic policing will be part of the future, and policing can actually be enhanced through robotics, and cops could be consulted regarding the placement and operation of this policy. But I'm concerned that with the current state of this motion, we're limiting, at least considering whether or not those cameras should be visible to the public. because we have that word covert. I think we should at least let the council officers present their expert advice whether or not the service enhancement should consist of covert versus visible cameras. So I propose that we vote down this motion, Mr. Chair, and then I would like to support a motion that's exactly the same, but just removes the word covert, so we can at least get expert opinion as to whether or not requiring that all of these cameras be covert is really the best thing. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Lane.
I have no problem with that. It's just recently, or a couple of years ago, I believe, there was a vehicle that was actually damaged because it was quite visibly saying this is a CCTV camera in a hooning hotspot. And it was severely damaged to the point that it couldn't be used again for that purpose. So I'm happy to remove the word covert. And if you want to call it a community safety camera or call it whatever you want, but when it comes to hooning and drug dealing houses and things like that, I'd love for it to be put into our community, and I'm pretty sure my community will back that in any day of the week.
Sorry, Emily, would you like to respond to?
I would, and thank you for the feedback from councillors today. It's certainly front of our mind that there's a range of different solutions available, whether they be covert or overt or temporary or fixed, that we're currently actively considering. So I imagine we'd support the removal of the word covert and expanding the available options for deployable cameras, whether they be overt or covert, for the purposes of this service enhancement.
Councillor Bradley.
Thank you. Through the chair, my hand went up when Councillor Jeremiah said what he said, and I was going to say I second that. So now it's been removed. Happy to second that.
Okay, councillors, we have a service enhancement up on the board. That is, I'll just read it out for the viewers at home, that a service enhancement for the funding of the citywide deployable camera program be prepared for consideration as part of the 2024-2025 budget process. I believe this was originally Councillor Lane's motion, so I'll let you move if... we've got to change... we can't change the title, councillors. We're just going to have to run with what we have at the moment, as we say. So moved by Councillor Lane, seconded by... Yes, Councillor Bradley?
Yeah, I just want to make sure it is citywide and not just in one division.
Absolutely citywide.
Thank you.
This will be a citywide thing, okay? Okay, so can I see we have a mover with Councillor Lane, we have a seconder with Councillor Bradley. Show of hands in support. That has been carried unanimously with everyone who's still in the room. Okay, councillors, do we have any further general business? Councillor Lane?
That's okay, it's a quick one. Director, the work by the team for Anzac Day, phenomenal. Ellie and her team are just absolutely glorious human beings. They treat people with respect and dignity, and I'm so proud of them when they're out and about in the community, so I just want to do that feedback. Thank you.
Councillor Santleger?
Likewise, what Councillor Lane just said there, Brad. Your team, Michelle, and that on, was it Thursday night, Councillor Jackson? Yeah, it was what they're doing out there. Yeah, it's really good work.
And it's not just because they have such a great chair either. These guys, they're very dedicated to the work, and you know they do put in a lot of time. So I'm very honoured to be able to work with them. With no further general business being here, I'd like to declare that the City Lifestyle meeting of the 15th of May 2024 be concluded at 10:55. Thank you.
Well done.